Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Larry and Darrell here, and we're excited to let you know about a new event that will reinvigorate your heart for sales.
The Selling from the Heart experience will be a gathering of like-hearted sales professionals coming to you on April 19th and 20th in Raleigh, North Carolina.
We invite you to join like-hearted sales professionals for an inspirational day that will refresh, refocus, and reignite your passion for selling.
I can't wait. You can learn more and get your tickets at www.sellingfromtheheartexperience.com. That's sellingfromtheheartexperience.com.
We hope to see you there.
Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Thawing out from winter. So excited. We're here in springtime. I am absolutely fired up for this podcast today, Darrell.
Yeah, and just to clarify for our friends in Minnesota, when Larry says he's thawing out from winter, it got down into the low 60s there in LA. So hope you're going to be okay, Larry. We're glad you're here. Welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. And by the way, if you're new, you've joined a growing community of sales professionals that are dedicated to being genuine, being authentic, building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Larry, the Selling from the Heart community is alive and it's doing well. And I love that we get to hear from so many people from around the world that are listening to the Selling from the Heart podcast.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Roger Swanson, because not only does he listen to the podcast, he's read the book, he's listened to the book. And I just want to appreciate you, Roger. But this is what Roger goes on to say. He goes, "This is a great book, a real heartfelt conversation, a real and personal look in the mirror." So good. I highly encourage you to read it through this or get the Audible book like I've done. This is what I really love about what Roger said. And this just warms my heart. He goes, "I feel like I sat down and had coffee with Larry."
There you go.
That's
and if
so
you
good.
did,
thank you, Roger.
You'd be drinking a Grande Americano with Larry. So I know that. Hopefully we'll get to have coffee with you soon, Roger. That's fantastic. We love hearing from everybody in this global audience. So thank you so much for reaching out to us. And thank you for helping spread the word. This is a growing movement. It's nationwide. And we like to hang out. Now, we hang out every Friday in the Selling from the Heart Insiders group, which you've heard us talk about a lot. But guess what? We're hanging out live and in person on April 19th and 20th in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Selling from the Heart experience.
We're all about inspirational experiences. You got to be there, like-minded, like-hearted sales professionals, sales leaders. We're going to reconnect to our heart. And when we reconnect to our heart, we're going to share with you how you turn that into genuine, heartfelt revenue.
It's amazing. And we're going to be joined by special guest, Selling from the Heart podcast alumni, and all-time favorite, Elizabeth Cottrell. She is going to be incredible. You're going to love hanging out with her. I can't wait. It's April 19th and 20th. We're going to hang out the evening of April 19th. So get in to Raleigh in time to have dinner, a networking reception. We'll have a special message from Elizabeth. And then all day on the 20th, Larry, it's going to be an experience. You want to come, sellingfromtheheartexperience.com. Get your tickets while they're available. And we're looking forward to seeing you there. Well, live in the Selling from the Heart studio, back in the green room right now, chomping at the bit. So excited to come out. We've got Dan Dominguez in the house today. Now, you know Dan, he's the Chief Growth Officer at the Y Institute, but he's also a former sales leader at Baxter Healthcare, where his teams exceeded and crushed their sales goals. He's an academic scholar, a college mascot, an Army Ranger, a marathon runner, and a cross-country coach. Let me spit all this out. He's also a Rotary Club president. He loves connecting with people and making a difference. And that's what he does every day in his role as the Chief Growth Officer at the Y Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Selling from the Heart studios. Dan Dominguez, it's great to have you here, Dan.
It's great to be here with you guys, Darrell. How are you doing, Larry? How are you doing, Darrell?
I'm doing amazing. I've been looking forward to having Dominguez on the Selling from the Heart podcast. You're an amazing guy, Dan.
You know what? You guys are amazing. It is so cool to be connected to you. You know, I was just looking at your post today. I posted about it. I reposted your post about the work you did with Humana, taking them through the Selling from the Heart experience. And of course, they all got to experience the YOS experience. So that excited me. And I just couldn't ask for a better partnership than the one we have at Y Institute with you guys. You guys are great partners. So thank you.
Well, we love what that's all about. But before we dive into that conversation, you know, the gauntlet you got to run. And that's the question that every guest on the Selling from the Heart podcast answers. That is, Dan, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
You know, that's a great question, Darrell. And for some reason, I thought you might ask that. Here's what I think. Here's what I think about what it means to sell from the heart. I think for me, as somebody who has a why of contribute, who wants to constantly help others and make a difference, selling from the heart is about your clients. It's about putting your clients first and doing everything you can to make a difference for them. I think when you're selling from the heart, you're selling in the best interest of the people that you're selling. You know, I've been blessed my entire career to represent companies that bring great products that make a positive impact in the lives of people, whether it was endoscopes or it was dialysis equipment, or now in the world of the Y Institute, where we're helping people discover their why and understand who they are. It's stuff I believe in. It's nothing that I wouldn't do myself. So I think when you sell from the heart, you sell something that you wouldn't have a problem selling to your mom or your dad or your siblings. And for me, that's what it's all about. Are you making a difference for the people that you're impacting every day?
Oh, this is so good. By the way, hats off, contribute guy. By the way, Dan, you know I'm a contribute guy. So at least for our conversation together today, we're going to outweigh Darrell on this one because Darrell's a better way guy. But nevertheless, I'm glad that you share this. But I want to spin this because I'm just curious on your thoughts. I've never spun this back like this before, but just track with me on this.
Yeah.
Is we always ask everyone, what's it mean to you to sell from the heart? I'd be curious, Dan, how do you know when a client or you're in a conversation with someone when they sense you're actually speaking from the heart?
Well, you know what? It's a great question, Larry. And I might not have had the answer had I not read this great book by Larry Levine called Selling from the Heart. Because here's what you did, Larry, in the book. You talk about the importance of authenticity. And I think authenticity is something that I like to say, you can't fake authenticity. You know, you've got to be who you are. You got to be who you really are. And for me, when I have a conversation with a client, and that's what I do as the Chief Growth Officer at Y Institute, I constantly talk to potential clients. And so if I am connecting authentically, the conversation just flows. And you know, when we're having a great sales conversation with either a prospect or a current client, that conversation just flows. And at the end, when you get to the part, as Mark Hunter likes to say, when you get to start the relationship, not close the sale, when you get to the start of the relationship, it's almost like, hey, how do we get started? Where do I sign? How do I do this? It's not about, let me show you everything that I can do and how much it costs and what it's going to do. It's about, hey, how can we help each other? How can I help you? And often during that conversation, you find, hey, this is not a fit. And that's okay too, right? Because you still treat that person with dignity and respect. And you understand that maybe they're not a fit for you, but they know somebody who is. Yeah. And you have a great conversation that flows from your heart. It's authentic. You really care. You're asking the questions. You know, someone asked me today on LinkedIn, how do you know, what's a great question to ask on a first meeting? And one of the questions I love to ask is, what are you excited about right now? What are you working on that you're excited about? Man, when you get the answer to that question, you have so much to talk about if you're paying attention, if you really care. Because you know when somebody asks a question and it's really just a filler, and then they never mention again. You mentioned right now I'm working on with my daughter on a science fair project, and I can't wait because she made it to the regionals. But they never mentioned it again. They didn't listen. They didn't listen.
It's flyover.
Yeah, it's a flyover. So I think it's important to not only ask the right questions, but listen, take notes. I mean, don't be afraid. I've got my iPad even for this interview. I've got it out because I'm going to take notes, and I want to make sure we come back to important stuff. Darrell's real good at saying, hey, let's unpack that. Or I don't know if it's you or Larry that always says, let's unpack that. Well, the way you unpack it is you got to remember what you were talking about. It's about active listening, making sure you come back and make it about the person you're talking to.
Well, I love that. And by the way, props to your daughter in the science fair. That's exciting. And on top of that, I just want to put a highlighter on something you said just a moment back. And that is this question of what are you excited about? What are you most excited about in your life right now? What is lighting your fire? What's going on in your business that's got you excited? This is so counterintuitive for most salespeople, because what were we taught? We were taught to go, where's the pain? How quickly can we get through to the pain of all of that? But the reality is, if we want to understand someone's core motivation and to get a window into their why, their purpose for being, let's figure out what lights their fire. Let's figure out what they're excited about. I think that right there is a massive gold nugget of differentiation of selling from the heart versus selling from a can.
Yeah, well, you know what? So let me say something, Darrell, because my daughter's going to listen to this and get back to me. Yeah, I did win the science fair. So that was just a generic example. But what I am proud about, Sophia,
okay, let me scratch that on my notes. Yeah,
hey, real quick. Hey, Sophia, when you watch this back, is your dad for real? Come on.
Yeah, no. That was just a generic example that somebody might say about their kid. But no, what I am proud about Sophia right now is she's one of 6 kids at her school that got straight A's on the last report card. So she made the honor roll. That is real. Great. And that's something I'm excited and proud of. And of course, I'm proud of the fact that we're going to start track season soon. And I get to coach her. So that's really cool. So, those are 2 things I'll mention right now. We're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about selling from the heart. We're going to talk about what that means. We're going to talk about how we're going to come together and bring this to so many people. But, we're all people. Larry's got his own issues going on, right? I mean, he's dealing with 60-degree temperatures out in California.
It's rough.
I'm sending him a parka. I'm going to put a care package together and some hot chocolate for him. Poor guy. We've all got our issues that we've got to deal with. So, let's remember that when we talk to people, we're talking to humans. And one of the things I love about the work that we do at Y Institute is we help people understand each other better. Because, I think you listen to the stories, you listen to what people are talking about, but we can't make assumptions about people. And we do, right? If I look at Darrell and I'm looking at, he's got a clean haircut, his glasses are on neat, he's got his black t-shirt and his selling from the heart jacket. And I might say, he's very well put together. He's probably an all business kind of guy. And I don't know anything else about him. I make some assumptions. But when I know that his why is better way, and I know his how and his what, I know what's important to him. I know that, hey, I'm going to talk to him about the things that are important to him so that he feels seen, heard, and understood. Just like with Larry, we know he said, fellow contribute. So we're going to vibe on the fact that we both love to help people, like to make a difference, but also he's a clarifier. So I know that he needs things to be clear and understood well. I need to make sure I understand him, he understands me, and then we can move forward and build trust. And that, it's in the book, it's in everything Larry does and everything that Darrell does. It's how you create the revenue growth engine, looking for better ways.
And this is so good because I'm a firm believer things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
I met Dan for a reason. We partner with the Y Institute for a reason. If I look back and the subtitle of the book is How Your Authentic Self Sells You. In order to really sell from the heart, you got to bring your authentic self to the forefront. In order to bring your authentic self to the forefront, you got to go on a little journey, Dan. And that journey is really unpacking your operating system. In other words, the why, the how, and the what behind who you really are. And that's what I love about this is when I discovered my operating system and what made me tick and why I did the things that I did, it was like a light bulb moment. I go, holy geez. Now I get what I've been doing all this time. This is powerful stuff. And this is why I'm super excited about bringing our partnership to the forefront.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, it's not, we've all, as tenured salespeople, all of us here have been in business development sales. We know how to figure out what makes people tick. But remember how long it could take Remember, I mean, I was on the phone the other day. We're excited about a new partnership. I'm not going to jinx it and mention any names, but we were on with the CEO and the chief experience officer of a coaching organization. And again, the guy gets on the phone and man, it looked like he was all business. He's just looking at the camera and he asked the question. So what's the ask? What do you want? What do you want from us? And I said, well, look, there's no ask. Your chief experience officer and I connected and he said we should meet. And so one of the things I asked you to do is let's figure out what your YOS is so that we could talk about it on this call. And then all of a sudden the walls melted, and all of a sudden, because I knew what he was looking for. He's a challenge guy. He's looking for a different way. He's a make sense guy. He's looking for a problem we can solve. And all of a sudden we started talking about, well, how is this a better way for our coaches and our organization to get to know their clients? How is this different? And what problem does it solve? And ultimately, mastery. So Jackie Joy, right? Mastery. He's like, okay, so give me the information, give me more. And so when we know that about a person, we can really hone in on what's important to them so that we can have those better conversations. So could we do it before? Absolutely. This is just a shortcut. And I love the shortcut because it's so accurate. It's so simple. And I don't even talk to anybody unless I know their YOS. I'm like, why am I going to waste time? The CEO of a major coaching organization, I'm going to meet with him if he didn't take it because we're going to have a second conversation. But it was such a rich conversation once we got through it.
Yeah, this whole thing is so powerful and it's great, because I live and love selling from the heart. Right. I just love it from a different perspective than Larry loves it. Larry's a contribute guy. He sees contribution. I look at what we're doing here with building trust and authenticity and go, that's a better way to do this. And we get to I get to roll up my sleeves every day and figure out, okay, what's a better way to train? We create a new hybrid training model. What's a better way to articulate all of this? We create a trust formula. And so I'm able to live inside of an organization and have a business partner in this that has a very different perspective on this. But we're both able to look and bring something to the table. And we look across our whole team at the different people on our team and everyone's why is all pointing in. We're able to connect the mission of the company, the mission of the organization to the why. And this is really beautiful. And we're seeing this start to happen on sales teams as well, where the leader is saying, okay, I got a bunch of different people on my team. They've got a variety of whys. But we're able to understand and communicate with each other. And I'm able to look at this thing as the sum is greater, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts because of all the value of the purpose here. And here's where I'm going with this, Dan. I know a lot of salespeople get up in the morning, especially those of us who maybe have a little tenure. And, there's some moments in your selling career where you just kind of hit the wall, right? And you go, So when we come back from our break, what I want us to think about is how we can leverage purpose to get out of a slump. But before we do, we've got a video from one of our favorite people collectively. Our good friend Hugh Hornsby is weighing in today on what it means to him to sell from the heart. So why don't we just take a moment? Let's hear what Hugh has to say after a word from our sponsor, and then we'll dive back into this conversation about why. Darrell here, and I'm excited to share with you one of the most innovative tools we've come across in a long time. Our partners at Why Institute have developed an amazing platform that helps people discover their why operating system. It's truly amazing. In 10 minutes or less, you can know why you do what you do, how you bring your why to life, and what people can count on from you. It's truly the first step in self-awareness. If you're a coach or a sales leader who believes in helping your people understand who they are so they can be the best version of themselves, you've got to check this out. All you need to do is go to whyinstitute.com and look for the Why certification page. We'll put the link in the show notes. When you reach out to the Why Institute, let them know you heard about it here on Selling from the Heart, and you'll be on your way to helping your team discover what drives them.
Hey guys, it's Hugh Hornsby, Vice President of Sales for Everflow Supplies. Thrilled to be here to talk a little bit about what selling from the heart means to me. Well, what it means to me is that it all starts with caring. When I talk to our sales team and I bring them on board, I always tell them that everything has to start with a burning desire, a desire to achieve. But they have to want to become a part of something that's bigger than themselves. And then they want to make sure after they do that is that they're giving back to other people. When I talk about selling from the heart, I talk about dealing with clients in a way that we get to know them and we start to understand what it is that they're looking for so that we can help them achieve those goals. And you do it in a way that you show that you care. Business has become hard over the last many years. And I think that those salespeople that care enough to become a bigger part of their client's business are going to be the ones that win.
Oh, I love Hugh. Hugh lives, breathes, and just carries himself with caring. So thanks, Hugh. You're awesome.
Props. That was great. And I think this is, whether you're a sales leader or you're a sales professional in this industry, we all hit times where we kind of hit a slump and we kind of, you wake up on that Monday morning or you're landing at yet another airport on your way to another hotel. And you're like, why am I doing this?
Right.
Well, that's the power of why is you can actually get an answer to that question in a way that refreshes and remotivates you in sales.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because we have a quote that we use in our presentations. Albert Einstein says, everyone is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to grow up. It's going to grow up thinking it's stupid. Because, a fish can't climb a tree. A fish can swim, right? And that's the power of understanding. When you talk, you said it, Darrell, you're starting to see this on sales teams. You've got a sales leader, and he's got all different kinds of people on his or her team, and they've got to figure out, okay, what are their strengths? And you talk to each of them differently, right? So you're going to talk to Larry differently than you're going to talk to Darrell. Darrell is always going to come in your office and say, hey, boss, I figured out a better way to do this. Let me show it to you. Figured out a better way to do this. And he's going to constantly innovate and bring you ideas. And you got to be ready for that. When Larry comes in my office, he's going to say, hey, man, I figured another way to help our clients. I figured out another way to save them money. I figured another way. So you're going to bring different ideas, different talents to the equation. Jackie is going to, she's mastery. She's going to come in and say, man, I dug into this and here's what I learned. Here's some more stuff that I learned about our most important clients. So understanding the strengths that everybody on your team brings to the table and then taking advantage of them, right? When it comes time to plan that regional or national sales meeting, who do you want in charge of making sure it's fun? And get those challenge guys. Darrell Amy, Better Way Challenge. Get him out there. He's going to come up with some fun stuff for people to do. That's what he loves to do. It's how he brings his why to life, right? When it comes time to review the contracts with the vendor where you're having that meeting, you might want to get Larry Levine and his Clarified to go through that with a fine-tooth comb. And guess what? He's not gonna dislike that. He wants to look at it. He wants to know the details. Darrell, how much appetite do you have for going through the contracts with a fine-tooth comb?
Oh, no, but see, this is so good, and I want to put a break on this, just a parking brake on it for a second, because I want sales leaders who are watching or listening to this to really key in on what Dan said. Is we've all been there. We have all, as salespeople, we have all been with managers or leaders that have all communicated to us the exact same way. Mm-hmm. And we walk out of certain situations going, what was that all about? I really didn't understand it. Did you understand? Yeah, I did. Right. It happens. It's all been there. So let's just continue this. But Dan, speak to the sales leaders that are listening and watching around the importance of really unpacking this for your sales team, especially in the day and age where salespeople a lot of times feel disconnected to their managers or their leaders. Just speak for a moment and just unpack this as far as why is it so important for sales leaders to really uncover what makes their salespeople tick and what makes them come to life? Why is it so important?
Yeah, no, I think it is vitally important because we all want high performing teams, right? We all want to know how we can get the most out of our teams. So, I led sales teams at the regional level and at the national level for Baxter. And I wish I had had this tool. I figured it out. We all figure it out eventually. Gosh, that person just tends to rub people the wrong way because their why might make sense. And they get stuff pretty quickly. And they're not that patient when everybody else is slow to get it, right? Because that's what they do. Or their why is better way, but it's really strong. And they're constantly telling everybody else, hey, there's a better way to do that. And people get tired of hearing, hey, there's a better way to do that. And so, but how do we channel that, right? How do we channel it and then share it in a positive way? So here's what I know, and I always go back on, I hate to use sports analogies because they're not universal, but, we remember the Bulls of the 1990s that won 6 NBA championships in 8 years. That team, the year before they won the NBA championship with Phil Jackson, was the same team. What Phil Jackson was great at doing is figuring out where the talent was and putting him in the right seat on the bus. And he did that without the YOS. And again, it took a lot more work. He was a brilliant coach. But you think about, nobody in the NBA wanted Dennis Rodman, right? He's a head case. He's marrying himself and wearing a bride dress, right? Who wants that guy? But here's what Phil Jackson knew. Dennis Rodman was going to get half of the shots that Michael Jordan missed and give them right back to him. You've got the best player in the NBA who's going to make a lot of points. But if he knows that every time he shoots, half the time he's going to get the ball back, he's going to shoot even more confidently. So you got to have that guy on your team because he's going to make your best player better. How many times on a sales team you find somebody that you can't get along with anybody else? And you don't understand him. Nobody understands him. What if you could understand him at a deeper level by getting to know them on a why operating system level and talk to them in that language? I'm going to take a wild guess that Dennis Rodman's why was to challenge the status quo.
Dude, don't even take a rocket science to figure that one out, Dominguez.
So here's what Phil Jackson did. He gave him a lot of latitude. It was like, hey, Dennis, you can play anywhere here. As long as you show up to the games, rebound, and get the ball back to Michael, we're going to be okay. I'll deal with the owners. I'll deal with the press. You go do what you do best. And that's what challenge people need. They need wide boundaries, and they need the ability to be creative. They don't need to be put in a box. Because what if Phil Jackson said, hey, you'll wear a suit to the press conferences. I don't want purple hair, and I don't want any media frenzy around you. Guess what? That guy is not happy. And how many rebounds a game does a guy that's not happy get? He goes in begrudgingly. He hates the coach. I hate I never get to shoot. All of a sudden, you got that Allen Iverson, right? Again, remember the issues he had with his coach in Philly. I think coaches, if you're a leader, you're a coach, right?
Yeah.
If you're a leader, you're coaching your team. And I think there's no better way to coach someone than to know them at a deeper level. So I really do believe in the work that we do because we've seen it with hundreds of companies. One of the best parts about the job that we do now that our coaches are doing it, it's hard because we're not in it as much. But when we do a team workshop that Jackie does with teams and we get the chance to share with the whole team, hey, your leader's why is better way, challenge, simplify. So that's how you want to talk to Darrell. He's always looking for better. He's always looking for different, and he's looking for simple. And if you're not bringing that to him, guess what? Those meetings are kind of hard, right? You go sit in front of Darrell and you don't bring him better, different, and simple. It's kind of like he's bored. If you bring him better, different, and simple, he's listening. He's paying attention. So what you bring to him isn't always going to be better, different, and simple. But when you can, try to present things to him in that way. And we used to, when we finish those workshops, we get hugs from people. Oh my gosh, now I know how to talk. Now I know why he's always saying, you know what, Dan, that's pretty good, but let me show you how you can make it better. It's not that he hates what you did. He can't help himself. He's going to try to help you make it better. So take advantage of that. And we talked about that, I think, when we did the trust challenge. I talked to you guys. There's things that people love to do and take advantage of that. Contributors love to help, man. Anytime you're overwhelmed, Darrell, Call Larry and say, hey, I need some help. Guess he's going to say, okay. Yeah, he loves to help. He's going to say yes 9 times out of 10. You also got to take care of him, right? Yep. Because he will say yes way more than he should. So we got to put people around, and probably Carmen's job is to say no to some people on behalf of Larry. Larry will say yes to a lot of things because that's what drives him. Right. So it's important to know that about your sellers. Your producers are out there acting how they are. Your challengers aren't putting anything in the CRM. They're starting their days at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're staying up till 10, or they're starting their days at 4 in the morning and only working till 3. They're going to do it their own way. And that's okay, because guess what? All you got to do is make sure they produce. Get those rebounds, right? If they're getting the rebounds, you don't care how they do it. Just don't break the law. That's why I was so happy. I mean, even when I look back at my career, how it ended. I had a boss that used to say, hey, Dan, when I started leading sales team, here's your quota. Don't break the law. See you at the quarterly meeting. That's pretty big boundaries for a guy with the how of challenge. All I had to do was make sure I didn't go to jail. If I didn't do anything illegal, everything else was in play. And then when he retired and he was replaced by someone who was much more of a stickler, much more of a rules guy, much more restrictive in the way he wanted to run things, I felt like I couldn't work in there. I felt suffocated. I felt like a fish trying to climb a tree. And it wasn't for me. And I had to move on. Had I had the knowledge that I have now, I might still be there and we wouldn't be talking. So I'm so glad that happened.
So am I.
This is, ultimately, I really feel this is where I need to be. When I met Gary and Gary Sanchez, the founder of Y Institute, and we've known each other for 22 years, but when he was launching the Y Institute in 2019, he invited me to a meeting. And I'm sitting there with a bunch of Y coaches that he'd coached himself. I think it was like 15, 20 of us. And this was like that first meeting. And we're going around the room. Why are you here? And I remember saying, I don't know why I'm here, but I know I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And it was just like you said, Larry, it was meant to be. I was meant to be there. And the work that we've done since to improve everything that we do, to develop the YOS, to share it with organizations like Selling from the Heart, and really, you guys are a movement. Movements like Selling from the Heart, and being able to share it with the world. That's what I want to do. Somebody asked me this morning, man, what's your mission? And my mission in life is to make a positive impact with everyone I come in contact with. And the best way I can do that is to do something that touches me, that touches others, and do it every day to the best of my ability.
I love it. Dan, you are always an inspiration, and we love hanging out with you at Selling from the Heart. It's just so fun to be partnered together. But I got one big question for you, and that is, how can people get more Dan Dominguez in their life?
Well, all you got to do is find me on LinkedIn, Dan Dominguez. I'm the Chief Growth Officer at yinstitute.com. If you really want to get to know me and you want to book a call with me and just get to know each other, I learned from a new connection, Mark McFatridge. He and I are meeting next week. He says, always take the meeting. And the name of my show is Why Not Wednesday. That's kind of like Yes Wednesday. I always will take a meeting. So if you want to really get a hold of me, Dan at yinstitute.com is my email. Send me an email and we'll get connected, have a virtual cup of coffee, and let's see what we can make happen together.
Oh, this is so good. Dan, you're awesome. We are super grateful for you and the Y Institute.
I'm just as grateful for you guys.
You rock. Thanks for being a Selling from the Heart champion. Thank you for sharing time with us today. This has been incredible.
Thank you, Darrell.
Awesome. Always fun hanging out with Dan Dominguez. What an inspiration. It's so like having a shortcut like this is almost not fair, but it's smart. So if you don't know your YOS, you need to find out. You can go to sellingfromtheheart.net/Y and discover it. And the conversations that are happening inside our team and with the people in our community that are taking the YOS, Larry, it lights things up. Like you said, this is a big aha moment and spotlight. And I refer to this thing all the time. It's a massive clarifier for me.
Yeah, no, so do I. And I just have to share. I didn't have a chance to share this together when we were with Dan, but I just have to share this is in a past training session with a sales team, we had them take their YOS. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone took this. So this goes back about 6-7 months ago. Well, just recently, that same sales leader took the YOS again. Okay. He goes, Larry, It was the exact same thing. I go, okay, so you're into it? And he says, yeah. He goes, I was just expecting maybe a different outcome. He goes, it was exactly the same. So I just wanted to say, as we put a bow on this, it was a great time with Dan. Is if you really truly want to uncover your authentic self, which is the subtitle of Selling from the Heart book, take the journey. Take the journey inward to really unpack your why, your how, and your what. You'll be surprised. And you'll also go, I get why I was doing all these things all along.
I love it. Well, I think it's a better way to do things. And Larry, you think it helps contribute? You're going to have a whole new language when you're done with this as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. So go check that out. sellingfromtheheart.net/why. Huge shout out to everybody. Thanks to Hugh for contributing that video. And by the way, if you want to send a video in, keep it short, keep it under a minute, and text it. Just text the word video to 21,000. That's video to 21,000, and you'll immediately get a response giving you all the details you need to know to submit that video. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you to everybody in the community who is hanging out. We're looking forward to the Selling from the Heart experience coming April 19th and 20th. And Larry, just so many fun things going on right now.
Oh, there's surprises around the corner, and I'll just leave it. By the way, there's never a dull moment at Selling from the Heart, but there's
never
always
a dull
surprises
moment
around the corner.
There's always bonus items. So stay tuned. We got exciting things coming up. Till next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, discover your why, and most of all, sell from the heart.